Hey everyone, welcome to Bad Storytellers, a podcast about a local writing group in Titusville, Florida. I am your host, Josh LaForge, and with me today is Liam Malone.
You got it.
Doug Banks.
Hello.
And Max Wessel.
I'm sorry.
So we typically start off by discussing the media we've consumed in the time between this and our last podcast, and then we move on to critiquing and reviewing our own writing samples. But at the end of each episode is the real meat where we...
the fun part. The real meat is the middle.
That's true.
The dessert.
We roll the dice and workshop a trailer from a list of genres about a movie that will never exist.
It's like the figure.
Thanks, guys.
Sorry. Doug is reading. Doug is writing one of our movies that we workshopped.
Will never exist. Thanks. You've cursed me.
It exists in my heart.
Defy us, Doug. Defy us and make it true.
And you'll welcome me with open arms.
It's true.
When have I not welcomed you with open arms already?
That's true. You've always been really welcoming, even when you didn't know me.
Well,
Fuck yeah.
I've got a couple retractions.
Oh, okay.
One day I'm hoping for one.
I'm hoping for
Where
none.
where you get to go like, and guess what, folks? We were completely correct.
No, if we ain't lying, we ain't living. In my opinion, if we're not making mistakes, we're dead.
So we start with a fun one. The legal definition of sodomy
All right.
Starting strong.
is anal, this is in quotes, anal or oral intercourse between human beings or any sexual relations between a human being and an animal, the act of which may be punishable as a criminal offense.
Okay.
Didn't know that definition was so broad.
It is.
Yeah.
It's super broad.
It's funny, it involves broads the least.
Yeah.
And, the author, Julian May, is a woman. Because we weren't sure, because Julian could be male or female. It wasn't important. It's just I was like, I want to know more about this author. I'm really enjoying this book.
Good to clarify.
I'll talk about that later. The TV show that was forced to have dinosaurs on it and then flopped was Terra Nova.
Terra Nova.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a
We
shame.
couldn't think of the name. And Matlock's private eye was Hudson.
Hudson.
We couldn't remember his name.
Matlock.
And also, Queen Victoria was not.
6
That's
feet
why
wide.
she was
Yeah,
out.
that retraction happened live on that episode.
we were like,
Were you
well,
thinking
no.
of the ship?
No, she's close. She's very close, but not exactly.
No, she's not.
Not close to
if
6
she
feet
laid
wide.
down, she would meet that criteria.
Yeah.
She's closer than any of us, but still not close. Just the way that like the moon is closer to the sun sometimes.
She wasn't the blueberry lady from Willy Wonka.
No.
But can I still imagine her as that?
Yes.
No,
You can imagine
You
whatever
can.
you
I
want.
don't
We're
care.
going to police your imagination from here on out.
Per use.
Really?
Thanks, Obama.
Actually, wait. Can I call out of that? Because I don't want to know what's in there.
Yeah, you do.
No,
You're
we just
getting
don't
it.
allow it. All right,
You
so
don't speak it anyway. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
what about this past week? We had a very eventful week. We had Valentine's Day, all this stuff. Liam, what'd you do?
All right. I saw Deadpool.
Me too.
It was good. I liked it. Does anyone want to have a further conversation about Deadpool?
Not
Sure.
till I see it.
Who? So you guys haven't seen it?
I haven't seen it.
It was a perfect Valentine's Day movie.
Very romantic.
Yeah, not saying that unironically. It is at its core 100% a romance movie.
To be fair, I didn't even know he was a character until the ads and stuff started coming out.
It's a very funny movie. Very gross.
Is it the love story
Very
between him and
crass.
a chicken chimichanga?
No, it's between him and a very special woman named Vanessa.
Yeah.
Who's not a big deal in the comics. In
Nope.
this movie, she's a huge deal.
She's the deal.
She's
Okay.
the deal. But it's
Also, they only say chimichangas once in that entire movie, which I was really
time to
enjoying.
make
I
the
think Deadpool-
fucking chimichangas.
Yeah, they only do it one where like they do the nod, but it was pretty conscious on their point to not hammer the fucking
does
shit
he-
out of it.
It's absolutely a Deadpool movie. Like,
Yeah.
they got it.
Does he fucking chimichanga? Is that where that comes from?
No.
No, but he masturbates in a lot of weird ways.
Yeah, there's a lot of masturbation jokes. You catch him masturbating, but it's good. I recommend it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I enjoyed the hell out of it. Although, while we're on this, I do want to have one quick conversation about the concept of rated R movies again.
Yeah.
Where, like, now they're going to exist again, but that could be a good thing and a bad thing.
Rated R movies never went away.
There were
I think what
way
Liam's trying to
less
say-
made the percentage of
totally,
movies that were
I
rated
agree.
R
Mainstream
declined.
rated R blockbuster.
They declined hugely.
They cut so much out to. Well, we need the 13-year-olds to come in
Yeah.
and watch our movie.
Well, like with past couple Die Hard films.
Yeah.
You know.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
movies.
yeah.
That
Well,
would,
I guess Die Hard.
yeah,
would
movies that were traditionally would have been rated R
No,
were not.
no.
rated R.
See, you still think there's only 4 Die Hard movies.
Yeah,
There are
there's
many,
a fifth
many.
one.
Yeah,
There's a point where John McClane
Die Hard-
becomes magic.
Yeah, Die Hard 4 and 5 is where he becomes a Marvel superhero, and all his movies are PG-13.
I did see 4. Live Free or Die Hard.
Yeah, that one's okay.
It's okay.
Fifth one is
Is that the one that Kevin Smith is in?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
When Kevin Smith is a hacker.
Yeah.
That is one of my favorite hacker movies. of all time.
Die Hard 4.
Really? Because mine is Hackers.
It's so stupid. But Hackers was at
Mine's
least
The
like
Matrix.
someone when the guy who
All
wrote
right.
Hackers, he like studied a little bit about hackers.
no, they
No,
didn't.
he didn't.
No, they
No,
didn't
in
at all.
the original thing was
No.
he studied a little bit about hackers.
No, he
Let's
didn't.
put a
Yes, he
worm
did.
virus in there.
Yes. they knew what a computer was.
Barely.
I guarantee you that people who made Die Hard did not know what a computer was. they're hacking our mainframes. We got to turn off the megabytes.
no, you're quoting Hackers again.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a great rated R movie, but I don't think a lot of movies want to be that movie after watching it because it was.
They don't want to be
specific.
that
No, no,
movie.
no.
They want
They
that
wanna
movie.
make that money.
They want to make that money.
Is it doing well?
It's
It's
killing it.
Killing. Yeah.
It is the highest grossing rated R movie like
Opening.
almost already. Yeah.
Like
Really
opening
more
all
than
time.
Hangover? 'Cause I
Yes.
know that was the big deal about
Yeah.
Hangover.
It made Star Wars money at that first opening.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it really was, I would say, the perfect weekend to release it because it was the perfect Valentine's Day movie. There's even a line where like it opens up with this crazy, gross fight scene. I mean, just really disgusting.
Super gratuitous.
Over the top and making fun of it the whole time it's happening. And then it like pauses and it says, I know what you're thinking. My boyfriend said this would be a superhero movie. It's like- but this dude just turned this guy into a fucking kebab. It's
That's awesome.
yeah, it's,
Yeah, the wife and I will have to go see it.
it's good.
It's good. The next thing, I started rewatching Farscape, and I enjoy the hell out of it. And
show.
I really kind of I wish I didn't sit on it so much. And I also realized that there's a companion miniseries to it that I didn't know existed.
Neither do I. What is it?
It's called The Peacekeeper War, and it's after. I
Oh.
think it's after.
I never heard about
Very
it.
cool.
Neither did I. It was made a couple years ago. So I'm going to check that out. The next big thing was I read what's now in my top 5 comic books I've ever read. It's called Prophet, and it's fucking metal. I got into it because I was like trolling comic book boards to look for Deadpool information, and then someone was just like, story time, and then dropped the first issue. And it's Conan the Barbarian as a space opera.
Except for it kind of doesn't really even know where it's going, but that's awesome. Every issue, the universe gets bigger and bigger and crazier,
And
there's
scarier.
And there's definitely a character that from Rick and Morty, Chrombopulous Michael. There's a character that Chrombopulous Michael may be a direct reference to.
But it's all this. It's this big, huge, epic space opera based on a bunch of terrible Image comics, Youngblood, which was like kind of a stupid Justice League ripoff that was supposed to be really super gritty,
Oh, I
Grimdark, all
yeah.
just people without feet.
supreme. And then
Supreme's not in it, is he?
yeah,
He shows up?
He's his body. So they have, but the whole thing is it's all these. It's this weird cavalcade of superheroes, and then someone just made a space opera in the distant future based on them, and it's really really good.
And the art style's kind of like low quality, high grit.
There's
like
a bunch of different artists eventually.
yeah, but it's
The
it's
guy
really
did
cool.
Orkstain does an issue.
Are you serious?
Holy crap! It's just about Die Hard, and it's fucking so beautiful.
I love Orkstain.
Orkstain's really good. And then another thing I did is Keith made me watch an anime called Haido Gensu no Grimgar, and it's about people who are trapped in an MMO, but they don't know they are.
Wow, you mean like Sword Art Online?
No, because they
Or-
know they're in an MMO.
Dot hack.
They also know they're in an MMO, and they don't have to like cook food. It's really good. I don't know. They make a lot of. There's just a lot of like great jokes on how the world works, and there's like, oh, you have to get this badge so you can sell shit for more money, and you have to collect tokens from these monsters. And I'm like, but they're really hard to beat. So if you play MMOs, I think there's enough funny references to the culture that it's good.
You said they have to cook food as well.
Yeah,
So
they
it-
live the life. They're not
Okay,
like
so-
logging in and out.
So
They
it's like
exist.
Are they making fun of Monster Hunter specifically?
No, it's more WoW
Okay.
kind of.
What about you, Doug?
Well, judging by Max's reaction, I want to say a bunch of anime, but no.
Dude, I'm gonna watch so much anime just to talk about it to piss Max off.
I
It
really
it
didn't.
doesn't though.
I'm gonna watch all the anime.
I really didn't see much. I caught up on more classic Twilight Zone. I watched the new X-Files. I didn't get to see any movies. I wanted to see some movies this weekend, but I didn't get the time. And but I did get to read the first 3 issues of the new Back to the Future comic, and that was
Oh,
kind of
nice.
cool. That was the first 3 issues, there's no real like major storyline. It's more of like a bunch of little short stories that answer fan questions that because Bob Gill like co-wrote some of them. So he was like, what are the questions that fans have always been asking me over like 30 years? And these are little short stories answer them like. When Biff took off in the DeLorean in part 2, like where did he go? How did that turn out, and why did he disappear when he came back, and all this other stuff, and how did Doc first meet Marty, and did Doc know at that moment, so it answers a lot of those little cool questions, and there's funny stories about it. But I'm looking forward to if they eventually kick it off into like a whole new story that's like a 4th movie or something like that. So
very cool.
What about you, Max?
I haven't really seen anything. I've been listening to a lot of Rush. And
Fuck yeah! What era of Rush?
I just Pandora, just Rush. And
All right.
It's like Queen, Rush, Zeppelin, and Pink Floyd, and I just been listening to a lot of that, and I'm
Smoking a lot of weed.
just enjoying like 8-minute, 9-minute songs. Just enjoying that kind of stuff.
you can listen to some classic Yes while you're at it.
Yeah,
Cashmere.
Fragile.
Cashmere is not my jam. Cashmere is the
What?
anti-jam. That backbeat
Oh, that it's
gets
slightly
my
off.
heart just like. No, it's too much.
It's too much.
It's for rocking out, man. If it's too much, you're too old.
Thank you for the Airheads reference.
Yes. Lemmy, who would win in a fight? Lemmy or God?
Trick question.
Lemmy? Trick question. Lemmy is God.
Get out of here.
Well, I guess now they find out.
Yeah. I
So
really
Rush.
haven't had time to watch.
Rush is the thing that you brought to the table today.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that, and I'm really happy about that.
Yeah. I want to get into more.
Can you bring more Rush to the table next time? I want your top 5 best Rush songs
Ooh.
next time. I'm gonna give you some homework.
If I never had to hear Rush again, I would be.
Really?
it'd be
I
too soon.
enjoy the
I
shit out
fucking
of
love Rush.
Geddy Lee. Also, I had a revelation that kind of rocked my world. I love the shit out of Queen. That I've always known that. I could not name anyone else in the band other than Freddie Mercury.
That's fine.
No, but it's not. Like, as much as I like Queen, I should at least know one other dude's name.
Yeah, I mean, because I can
That's
name.
like a personal
I can name
failing.
all of Led Zeppelin, or I can name all of Led Zeppelin,
Yeah.
all of Black Sabbath. I can only
Okay.
on the spot think of Freddie
Alex
Mercury.
Lifeson,
Cream,
Geddy
Cream
Lee,
McAdoo.
Neil Peart.
Who-
I had a
who's
kid.
that?
I had a kid in my class one day named Neil Peart, and I was just like, yeah,
That's not an accident.
my man.
As for me, sorry, I just looked down at the sheet and saw sodomy. All right. As for me, I watched some movies. I saw Deadpool. I just rewatched Coming to America, and that movie is great. I
It
didn't
is
realize that it had. I'd forgotten that it has more versions of Eddie Murphy than The Nutty Professor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
it's,
but like
it's-
good, real good versions.
him and Arsenio Hall are
Yeah.
just everybody
Yeah.
in it. Yeah.
I really enjoy that movie, so I was like, oh, Moscow on the Hudson. That seems like another funny Coming to America movie. Nope. Have you seen that one?
No, I've never
It's
heard of
Robin Williams. He's in like the an orchestra in the Soviet Union. They come to America, New York City, to like show the power of the Soviet Union, and
it. Oh no.
he escapes and goes to live in New York City. I'm sure I'm not ruining a 30-year-old movie, right?
No.
Yeah.
No.
And he gets to America, and it's great. And then the first 20 minutes, he's like, this is awesome. Then he just gets shittily depressed and misses the Soviet Union.
Oh.
And it's really fucking weird and depressing.
Well, I'll have to see it.
Yeah.
Thank you for spoiling.
Followed up with the
spoiling
Fisher
it.
King.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I watched 2 Naruto movies
Yeah.
so that I would know what's going on
Anime.
in the Naruto Storm 4 video game, which
You
is
said you would know when you finished the mangas.
super boner party awesome. The game is amazing. Also, I watched Naruto The Last, which is like how Naruto and Hinata got together.
Mm-hmm.
And that movie sucks. It's so bad.
Did it explain more for the game for you?
No.
Because I feel like the Street Fighter movie was the same. Didn't explain the game. Like, I'm like, I can't play the game until I watch the movie.
Are you what?
You're totally trolling.
Why can you know? No. Can't play the game until I watch the movie.
No. But I also watched Boruto, the one that takes place after Naruto is the Hokage, leader of the village, ninja wizard. And
Super Ninja Wizard.
Super Ninja Wizard, leader of the village. And that movie was awesome. It was definitely the best one. It was super great. Really emotional in ways I was not prepared for. Not because of like my ties to Naruto, but like Boruto is the kid. He's Naruto's son. And his dad is always busy because he's the Hokage. And you kind of get what that's like. But they do a really good job of showing you how angry he gets at his dad and like the weird moments that they share together, and it's like it almost made me cry. Like it's
Wow.
yeah, no, it was actually it was really good. I highly recommend it. Also, I'm almost done with the Many Colored Land by Julian May, and that book is nothing like I was expecting. It's super great. I didn't realize the opening scene of the book is like the ship appears and it's like, oh, good, we found it, and they like land on Earth, and then it goes to the people who are like, oh, we need to go back to the time portal, and I'm doing it for this reason, and I'm doing it for this reason. I lost my psychic powers, and I can't stand to be here anymore, so I'm going to go back to the Pliocene era. And when they get there, that alien race that came through and landed on Earth has taken over the Earth, and they just did it 6 million years ago, and they were like, oh, well, our germplasm for reproduction is failing, but we know that this planet's compatible, and they have ships that are like living creatures, and the reason they never traveled far enough to find a planet until now is it kills them to make the jump. And so their ship sacrificed itself to get them there, and they're going to use the local animals to like revitalize their germplasm and like use them as surrogates and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden people from 6 million years in the future who look very similar to these aliens, not perfect, but very similar, with a much more compatible germplasm, start showing up through a portal. And they're like, oh, the promised land. What you realize is their society, they can't use iron because like that's why they had to grow their ships. That's why they do this. It's like poisonous to them. One of the guys that goes back figures it out because he thinks he went into Narnia, and he's like looking for Aslan and thinks he's a knight, and he believes that these are fairies and they hate cold iron, and he like stabs one and they die immediately even when nothing else will kill them. So now a guy jumps through and he has a giant battle axe and he just starts laying about.
That's awesome.
No, it's pretty great so far. And then there's like
this one out.
Like the biggest badass warrior who's trying to fight against them is this young like 17-year-old girl, brutal hockey star, who has like psychic abilities because the hockey they play is on the back of like wild beasts that she can control with her mind. And
This is crazy.
yeah, no, it is nuts. It's bananas. But some of the coolest world building and like exposition I've seen.
What do they do about dinosaurs?
There are no dinosaurs because it's 6 million years ago, like Terra Nova. But that's it for me.
Cool. That sounds awesome. I'm gonna have to read that.
All right, so we're gonna move on to hot topics.
Yeah, let's all go to hot topic. Our hot topic.
I really want some nice wristbands.
Well, I need a new Slayer
What do you mean, like
shirt, too.
slap wristbands?
No,
slap
I'm
bands?
talking about like leather bracers.
It's studded.
Studded leather band.
Why does everyone always say studded when I say that?
How are
Because
you-
that's
else
what's
you
that's
gonna-
what's that hot topic.
Because police dogs will latch onto your arm, and if you have a studded bracer,
That's true.
No, I just want leather.
it'll keep them from doing
just
it.
want leather, straight leather.
I shopped at Old Navy for the first time this weekend.
This is okay. No, let's.
What
let's
did
hear
you
it.
get? What
Let's
did
see
you
where
get?
this goes.
Did you get pants?
Did you get
Kinda like
khakis?
an old person hot topic, right?
No,
I bought 3
don't
pairs
know.
of pants.
I think only if you were in the Navy.
Yeah.
But our topic for this week is exposition
All right.
and how it's done well, how you do it, how you deal with it. Like exposition, I think is like one of the hardest things for writers to do effectively because one of the classic words we use is info dump.
Yep.
And you really don't want to make your audience feel like you're giving them an info dump. You don't want it to be like the Bible where you get to numbers and it's like begat, 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 and you're supposed to remember who all those people are. You know.
Are you supposed to remember? Because I never do.
Yeah, it's supposed to show it. Well, never mind. It's an unbroken line to Jesus Christ is the idea from Abraham.
It's real important, actually.
Is it? Not in my life. I don't. It doesn't. Has never affected.
I don't want to get into a religious discussion, but in the Bible, you presume that it's important that Jesus be related to Abraham or Moses or whomever.
I feel like it's going to be a test at some point.
When you die.
Yeah, when you die.
Yeah.
As a pop quiz.
Did you remember all the baguettes?
Yeah. Write down as many baguettes as you can.
No, I was sorry. I was too busy feeding the poor.
Yeah.
Sorry about you.
Don't come in.
It doesn't say that anywhere in the Bible. So exposition, how do you guys deal with it?
I try to do it slowly as possible. As soon as you figure out that you need someone to know, you need the audience to know something by this point, you start peppering it in super slowly and you build upon yourself. Like, I'm trying to think of like a good example. Not Star Trek in a lot of ways. Because Star Trek will have to be like, well, here's these 7 things you need to know for this plot to make sense in this 1 hour
Right.
contained story. So you have to be going at light speed.
Coincidentally, I always
Or warp rather.
Warp speed, yeah.
Well,
But
I was gonna say, coincidentally, the thing I've always thought was the best exposition was Doc Brown in the Back to the Future films.
So I think he's the exact example of everything I try to avoid.
No. To me, he's perfect because everything he says is exposition, but he is like the main character. It's like he's along for the ride. You don't even really think about it.
Right.
Like,
well, I mean, because
the thing is
it's a comedy. Like,
But that
Right.
isn't the success of Doc Brown. That's the success of Marty, as being a foil, as a point of view for the audience to exist in with them.
I would say it's more of a success of Christopher Lloyd's acting. Like
Maybe.
to just read just
I mean,
nothing but
when
exposition.
you have a character like that, see, the point isn't that you need to get the exposition, but that character's funny because like the premise is ridiculous,
Right.
Like, and to show you how ridiculous it is, he's gonna use a bunch
break
of crazy
it down.
words.
Yeah.
I would say it depends.
Because you don't really even need that much exposition from Doc Brown. Not really.
Well, you only,
I built a time machine. We're going back in time.
Well, it's not even that. It's he has to explain how he came up with the idea because Marty has to prove that he's from the future, and then they have to know how they're gonna build it. Like to fix
Right.
it rather once he gets back there. So there's a little bit of stuff.
But when he
peppered
gets to
throughout.
like Back to the Future 2, where he's like, no, listen, this thing will explode and it'll do all this.
Right,
no,
right,
it's just
right.
like, oh, you'll never be born. Like, or your kids' lives will suck. Like that's it. Like it doesn't have to be as ridiculous as it is, but that's the point. Like he starts dumping everything on Marty. Oh man.
Morty.
Morty.
So do you think the best way to do exposition is to like hide it?
I don't think so.
No. Well, one you can put it in plot, or you could make the exposition important to the plot and tell the reader immediately that it is. Or like, let me tell you this thing because you're going to need to know about it. Occasionally that can happen, especially when you have a strong narrator voice. Like they can be like, time out, you need to know this stuff.
Right.
And when you do it that way and you let the reader in on the kind of the pace of thing, or that the story is stopping for them to figure out this thing, that can work really well. Sometimes it can be ham-handed, but other times it works really well.
Yeah.
You can just hide it in conversation between two characters slowly. I mean, there's a lot of ways to place it in odd ways.
I think.
I think that's like one of my main fantasy novels I'm writing. I think with fantasy you can get away with, oh, this happened 300 or 400 years ago. Let me tell you the
Lord of
story
the Rings,
of.
You can start like in the beginning. Like,
Yeah, you can do it in the beginning, but you can be like, let me tell you the story of Dave. 400 years ago, he did this, and this.
Right.
Let me tell you that.
Which set up this great
Yeah.
civil war that is now encapsulating the world.
So now let's sit down and tell you that story. Like, you can start with that. And I think that's a little better than, here's 15 pages of what you'll need to know to get into this.
I think some of the best exposition I've seen has been in like A Song of Ice and Fire, where you get no exposition before you need it. And so for instance, when you need exposition for something is to even understand what you're looking at. When you set up a scene, you can give little details about backstory when you're trying to describe the look of something.
Well, even, let's say the first chapter, when they find the dire wolves. Jon Snow finds the one, he gives them all to the kids and whatever, and then you see like the single tear slowly fall down Eddard's face or whatever, and you see Jon Snow is not like one of the kids, but Eddard still loves him like a kid,
Right.
and that's done in a scene without being, oh, that right there.
Also,
that's-
isn't it his brother who finds the other wolf and gives it to him?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's a huge symbolic moment,
Exactly.
and that in that moment in itself is exposition about how the family operates.
exactly, but in a scene, not just dry exposition.
It's not like, and his brother loves him.
No, there's
It's
there's
like-
this rule that I like that I don't know who was the first to say it. It's said all the time in screenwriting is
Show don't tell.
no, start as late as you can, get out as early as you can. Like for a scene, like you just don't want to. You want to start as late into a specific scene as you can, and then get out as the fastest you can. So that way you just keep moving. You move faster, and there's less things. And I think there's ways to do that with exposition. But if you start a scene late where something's already begin, like this is, I wanted to bring this up because it has a lot to do with why I only turned in about 8 pages this week. I'm trying to think of a good example of exposition, because you can, if you're doing prose, you can start from like, in the beginning there was this.
Well, when you
But you shouldn't.
when you say get in as late as you can, leave as early as you can, I always felt like sort of tied into that when it comes to exposition is don't give any until the audience is basically begging for it.
Well, I think you need some for context.
Well, yeah, but
Even
like
for the scene to make sense, there needs to be some.
maybe what I'm thinking of is more as like an info dump where it's like a lot of exposition. Like
Sure.
you can plant little bits of exposition, like or foreshadowing like all throughout. But whenever it's like, listen, there's something you didn't know about me. I was once
A
like
werewolf.
You. Yeah, or whatever. Like whatever. Like if someone's got to sit down and tell somebody something, if the audience doesn't want to hear it or your reader doesn't want to read it, then it's shitty because it's slowing down the story, and ultimately that's what we're trying to avoid, slowing down the story. So if it's instead where it's like they keep hinting at this thing, what the fuck's going on? They're hinting that this guy's doing this and this guy's doing this, and if only someone would just sit down and tell me, then you give it to them.
Well, it's like
Right.
Star Wars.
You know?
They get to a certain point where they have to have Obi-Wan sit Luke down and be like, listen,
This is the Force.
this is things that happen. You are one of these things who can make this thing happen.
Yeah, that's a good example
Yeah.
of Star Wars because it does a lot of exposition through basic imagery. So
Yeah.
you show up the planet he lives on, how you know it's not Earth, it's got 2 suns, things like that. Very, very small.
Look, who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? Little white ship floating along?
giant
ship comes up
gray
and
shitty
swallows it.
thing. Well,
Yeah.
those are the bad guys,
Yeah.
obviously. Yeah.
And the language is very indirect when it starts because they're talking about data tapes, but that's not what's really going on. And that tells you even more of what's going on. So especially when it immediately after that they go to the room with all of the delegates. What would you call that?
Yeah,
Representatives?
You mean just the Imperials? Just
Yeah,
like the Imperial
like-
meeting room, the
yeah,
business room, whatever?
They go in the meeting room.
Oh, yes, the last remnants of the Republic have been washed away.
It's
Right,
like
yeah.
And even
like a general staff meeting.
Yeah.
exactly. And when the one turns to Darth Vader and he's like, "Your sad devotion to that ancient religion still hasn't helped you do
Conjure up the plans,
stolen
yeah.
data tapes." That tells you a lot about the dynamic of the Empire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that Darth Vader is an extreme outlier, but he's still powerful.
And some people think he's full of shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's
until he nearly
Until he
kills a
chokes him,
guy.
yeah.
Yeah, he immediately proves.
Yeah.
right. So the problem is it's very easy to give too little exposition in a scene like that, and people just have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. If you're too
And
vague.
it would be very frustrating to watch that scene with only a couple things removed.
Yeah, because the other mistake would be you just dance around it without approaching it, thinking that you're like being subtle,
Yeah.
and then no one knows what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, well, I mean that's why I think there's an importance of a group like this, because it's always hard to tell when you're describing something that you have fully built in your head to someone
Yeah.
else
Yes.
what you need to leave out and what you don't. Where someone's like, I want this to be subtle or like kind of hinty so I could reveal it later. Like, no, you painted a big red X on
Yeah,
it,
writing
motherfucker.
groups totally help. Like someone when I write about like my story is a lot of like Irish mythology in it. I'm like, oh, this is based on this, this, and this, and someone is just like, I don't know what any of that is. I'm like, no,
Everybody knows that.
Everyone
right?
knows that.
That
Like,
thing that I've
Yeah.
internalized in my head.
the Dagda, like everyone knows the story of the Dagda, so I don't have to explain that. And I'm like, no, okay,
And it's funny
let me
because
go back.
there's a lot of good ways to do things like that, but you can't be direct. Isn't that strange? Like, well, I think because if you're direct, you spend a lot of time explaining that you don't need to. If you can just pick out the small stuff and put it in there. So, for instance, if the story is based on the Dagda, if you can find a way to actually say that by having one of the characters be like, "Oh, that's
This is kind of like the Dagda.
That's similar to this thing called the Dagda," and they're like, "What's that?" And you only give the parts that are relevant.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing. And
Well, there was a troll, and also there was a guy named Finn. It was weird.
Well, a lot of my exposition in that story is going to be set up because it's a kid he's going to be learning from like an older witch, like an old healer. Mm-hmm. And like the story, witchcraft magic exists, but a lot of it's just knowing like that this berry will not kill you. So while there is actual magic, a lot of it's just like straight up, oh, if you boil a rag before you put it on someone's wound, it won't kill them.
it's like shamanry.
Yeah, so a lot of the end of the beginning is going to be taken up with her teaching. So I feel like I can sneak exposition into a teacher teaching a student.
Now, when I read The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin, she did this thing for exposition where she would introduce you to the common myths of this world
Yes.
between chapters.
I love that.
And it was very indirect. It's almost like it's a foil, right? Like the Black Freighter in Watchmen. But the way she would do it is she would set up this myth that everybody knows, and it would be between chapters, and it's kind of a parallel to what's happening in the book, but it also gives you all the backstory of this world while trying to tell you a different story. So it always has to be indirect, I think, for it to work. And what's the other term? Is Pope in the pool?
That's the screenwriting, Blake Snyder term of basically just having, if you ever have to have an info dump and you have boring exposition, just don't make it boring. Have people physically doing something. Like because it's also like, I've also heard things referred to as like the floating head syndrome, where it's like if you're reading.
The walk and talk.
Well, no. Walk and talk is actually trying to fix the floating head syndrome. The floating head syndrome is basically where you just have two people, and you're reading a conversation for so long, your mind kind of forgets where these people are, what they're doing, what they look like, and it's just like these "show me what you got" floating heads in an empty void, just reading, dialogue back and forth with each other, having a conversation.
Disqualified.
Right, and that's why it's like, again, show don't tell. That's just telling. When
Right.
it's like you're basically
That's
writing
cool.
a play at that point.
Well, in prose, I think you just can tell, like because
Yeah.
so for
Still,
instance, when you're
still in prose, it is always better to show than tell.
I disagree. I think sometimes if you just go, oh, that guy, he acts this way, and that when he shows up and he acts that way, it's not as jarring. You know what I mean? There's a lot of ways to.
Well, it also depends on what kind of story you're trying to tell. Because if you're
Yeah.
sitting down and you have two people are having a conversation at dinner, and this is something you could do in prose that you really can't do in a movie. It's like they're talking. There seems to be kind of a tenseness to one side. Like the woman is kind of tense against this older man, but you don't know why. And then she's like, "Okay, so I guess I'll see you tomorrow." Then he's like, "All right, good night," and he turns to leave. And in that moment, she knew he was definitely the guy who killed her father. Like
Yeah.
that's something
You're
you can totally,
telling. Yeah.
and that's fine. Like that's totally fine because there's more to come after that.
Exactly.
Whereas in a movie, you can't just pause the frame and then have the narrator say, "And in that moment."
Although
And
they
you
do.
Totally
They
can.
do. No, they
You
do.
can.
But it's usually pretty shitty. Like it's
Well, I like your idea of like the walk and talk being the solve no floating head, but like give them something interesting. If you're in like a starfighter, be like, who the hell are these guys? Why are we shooting? Why are they shooting at us? Have them shooting.
yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
movies have a hard time with this.
Yeah.
Books have a much easier time, but I think who has the hardest time with it is video games.
Oh my god.
Well, video games are still an emerging storytelling format. You know,
Right.
like it's
I love that there's this quote by John Carnac where he says, story in video games is kind of like a story in porn, where if it's good, it can be good, but it's really not all that necessary. And I agree with him. I love video games with stories, but if the game isn't fun, who gives a shit? You know,
Right.
like it's like, there's no.
Yeah, but I also feel like there's a middle ground to that statement. When mechanics and story come together, it's fucking amazing.
Totally
and,
agree.
And,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you don't have to explain the mechanics because they work in the story. The story explains the mechanics, the mechanics explain the story.
Yeah.
And the closer those two things are one thing, the less you have a game with a story, and the more you have a story that you play.
Right.
The first time we really hit that wall was it the Sons of Liberty, the Metal Gear Solid? That was
God.
just
Second,
90% video.
dialogue. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
really, just at the end, you know, like where it's just like the la la lula lo, and it's like, oh god, no.
Yeah, I remember
This is
sitting my controller down and just letting it ride, and then I look over at the clock and it's 2 a.m. and I'm like, I don't remember when I was playing. Like I literally forgot how long it was since I was playing.
How long has it been since I fought the president with the katana?
I think someone measured the time, and I think there is like 60 minutes. I think there's like
It's
60.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's too much.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
way too much.
Yeah.
And like that's just pure exposition. You're sitting it through it the whole time in a video
Those
game.
literally are floating heads in the codec screen.
It's true.
That's the thing. That's why you get bug people, because if it was like a cut scene, you'd be like, well, at least I'm watching a movie. But here it's floating scene for floating heads in a black empty space and text at the bottom of the screen.
Now, see, if that was your video game and you had a scene like that, it would be nice if somebody said, hey, listen, the less exposition you give them, the better, because the less they know for sure.
Yeah.
Like let them give them everything they need to know for this game to make sense.
For that video game, I would disagree.
Nothing made sense.
Because if they cut out the exposition at the end, that game would be even shittier because they wouldn't make any goddamn sense.
No, but I think they give you the exposition at the wrong spots. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I think the first Metal Gear does a pretty good job, but because because of the mechanics of that game,
Right.
you can't do like emergent story about
Right.
like, oh, you had rookie's eyes. You
You
know,
get
like,
wrong,
it's
but
not-
like Navi and the old guy in Dead Rising, like Navi was always like, "Hey, look at here."
Yeah.
That's something you want to strangle. You don't want to imitate. And then the old guy in Dead Rising, you're in a mall with zombies, and you're just supposed to kill zombies, and he keeps calling you, like, "Hey, you need to do this." It's like, no, leave me alone. I'm in a mall with zombies. That's what I want. I don't care about some dude.
Nico, come
Yeah.
hang out with the guy. We'll go
Yeah.
bowling.
Exactly. You're
God.
ruining your story.
No, actually, Grand Theft
Yeah.
Auto 4 is a game that does exposition well, because a lot of times it happens during a car ride.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
true. They will do those. Yeah.
And usually it's entertaining
Which is
because
just
it's
walking
He's like,
talk,
why,
right?
why did you show up here? And he was like, I got in some trouble.
Yeah.
And that's all that. But the whole thing is, that's also all they say.
well. Also, there's so
Car
many
ride is a
times
walk and talk, right, though?
It is a walk and talk, except for you're doing the walking as the player, so you're actively involved in something else
Yeah.
while they're having a conversation that does sound normal, and it's not just like here's all my information. It's more like, hey, you ever do time in prison over there in the Ukraine? He's like, yeah, do some. He's like, hey, you get gay with the dudes? You know, he's like, no, that's an American thing, like, you know. And he's like, I did, and then they go back and forth and
And that's exposition done for a video game done really well.
extremely
Yeah,
well,
yeah, yeah.
extremely well, yeah. But I think that's what you need to have in films. Like nobody should have a conversation that feels like that would feel like an info dump to that character.
Well, I would. You know what I think it
These
is?
are all-
It's because in film you can't play with time and space as much as you can on the page.
Right.
And in video games, you don't really play with time and space. You can. It's almost more one-to-one, you know, because it's like
Right.
if I'm going to play Grand Theft Auto and I have to drive from point A to point B, I got to drive there, and it's going to take however long it takes.
Yeah.
So you can fill that with any length of conversation, and you can get something out of it. You can't do that in a movie because you'd be checking your watch, like, God damn,
Yeah.
when are they going to get to that place?
Sure,
You know.
sure.
But
So-
I don't get, these are humans writing these screenplays. Humans who have conversations.
right.
Why can they not write human conversations?
It's very different.
because
because if you transcribed an actual almost any conversation you actually had and then had people act it out, it would sound terrible.
Yeah.
Maybe your
Well,
conversations.
not only that. When you start writing a conversation for a story, typically you're only doing it because there's some information that needs to pass, whether
Yeah,
it's information about that character's emotion or all these other things. So you have a list of objectives that you need to complete with this conversation. That's not the case when people talk normally. Like there's no objective list. It's just,
Oh,
hey, how's
really?
it going?
Oh, man,
what
I-
happened?
I
Jesus
talk
Christ.
a
Yeah, I was going to say, it's usually
A lot of small
this is
talk,
information
yeah.
I need to give you.
Yeah, but that's usually when you start an info dump in a conversation with an actual person.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, listen, here's a bunch of stuff, and then that person's in as long as you stay on track.
Yeah.
And there's
You know-
and the whole thing is there's always a goal for the info dump.
There's,
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, there's
Hopefully.
my buddy Blake. I remember when Mass Effect 2 came out, and we
Oh,
stayed up
no.
late. We stayed up late playing Mass Effect 2, and it just got to a point where he was just like, "God damn, man, why can't life be more like Mass Effect?" And I'm like, "What do you mean, like flying spaceships and banging alien ladies or whatever?" He goes, "Nah, man, like." Every conversation you have means something. It's like everything you have. It's like you learn something, and when you're done, you say, "I should go," and then they turn, and then you walk away. And I'm like, you know what? It's true, but that's because the video game is written, and it is not an actual conversation. And he's just like, yeah, but damn, it's just the whole the approach that realization of normal everyday conversation is kind of bullshit. Well, not bullshit, but it's not written. It's not entertaining. It's just exchanging information. But if you can somehow write it to where it is entertaining, then maybe you can write exposition better.
It's true. It's true. All right, I think we tackled that enough for
Yeah.
now because we're probably
Yeah.
going to talk because I want to talk about it more in the context of what I brought in because I had a lot of questions and I tried a lot of stuff. So let's move on to our work this week. Liam,
Yes.
what-
I
what-
brought nothing.
Liam brought nothing today.
Damn,
Been-
man.
It's been a hectic week. We're trying to get this other.
Let's
lady
boo
in
him.
here.
Let's
We're
boo
doing all
him
this
softly.
shit.
Here we go. Boo.
We didn't boo Max when he brought nothing.
Boo.
true. Liam?
Okay.
He was sick. I brought in more detailed outline for The Plant Without Christmas, more detailed on the characters.
Yeah, you had a breakdown for each main
Yeah,
character.
for what I'm right now considering the main characters. I'm gonna try to get a couple pages of the actual screenplay for next time. It depends on how this work week's gonna go.
True.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to get like maybe an opening scene or something done, in addition to fleshing that a little bit more. So.
Nice.
The one thing I was gonna ask is if you guys have any cool ideas for what the name of the Captain Nick's ship should be, because we know the shuttlecraft is called the Comet, but the actual name of his ship proper, it can't be like Blitzen because that's way
Sure.
too,
No, sure.
you know. But if it's like a good sci-fi name,
The Kalamazoo.
because it's not like a smuggler, freighter
Yeah.
that's super fast. It's a workship, It's like,
Right.
it's
It wouldn't even call it like the Nostromo because
No,
that's way
yeah.
too.
Wesley Crusher.
it's like it's Millennium
What,
Falcon,
what do people name their semi trucks?
What was Jack Burton's semi truck?
Pork Chop Express.
Pork Chop Express.
Yeah.
Something something equivalent to that might be kind of fun. Just
You should
The
watch.
Bandit.
What about the Bubba the Bubba Honey?
Bubba Honey. I don't know.
Bubba Love.
Bubba Love.
Something with Bubba.
I don't
sounds like
want to
truckers.
insinuate that he's uneducated or
Yeah.
kind of rednecky. on
Doug,
his,
how dare you, sir?
I'm just saying all truckers are uneducated.
no. There's Bubba Honey is like what the fuck? Like as far as a name, but it's like you've heard other
I gotta
names.
get back on my Bubba Honey. Oh, Bubba Honey, you work for Daddy.
What about Space Dixie?
Knife
Space
hits.
Dixie. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
I don't know, like a place name?
No, it didn't have to
You
be.
could call it Miss Dixie, and then or the Dixieland. The Dixieland.
We hop on the
Express.
Dixieland
The
Express.
Dixie Chicks.
Because then when it crashes, you can be like, my Dixie wrecked.
Oh, that one took a second.
But anyway, I don't know. It's not super important. It's just something I was trying to think of that for whatever reason I couldn't crack that. With all the other character stuff being done, naming conventions for everything else, I just couldn't crack the name of that ship.
How about Papa Choo Choo?
Why are you doing this?
I don't know. I can try to
Why?
think
Is it because it's good? Is it because of Matthew McConaughey? Is this the reason? Are you like
Papa
thinking of?
Choo Choo.
Yeah, Papa Choo Choo.
Don't know what Papa Choo Choo's gonna say today.
It'd be cold.
The General Lee.
Generally, what?
I can't.
The Polar Express.
Can't take it if it's already been done.
The Jefferson Davis.
SS.
Minnow.
SS.
Yeah, just the SS.
The Titan.
No.
Something Titan like.
Titan
No.
AE.
Ooh.
Um,
yeah.
The combat sandwich.
George.
I don't know why, but calling a spaceship the ice cream sandwich is funny.
Yeah.
It's like, that's my ship. What do you? Oh yeah. Oh, it's kind of cool. What do you call it? I call it the ice cream sandwich.
sandwich.
It's like,
Why?
Call it the silver starfish.
It's
The
called
chocolate flavored water.
the Klondike.
I call it the Dippin' Dots. Space. It's space food.
Called astronaut ice cream.
What's
The toucan Sam.
it would a name that I'm thinking of would sound like a Ben and Jerry's flavor. What would
said
the Ben and
Toucan
Jerry's
Sam.
flavor
What about
tie-in? of
Pecan
this film be?
Sandy would be the name of your spaceship.
What's something Christmas related, like the fruit cake?
The October Blue.
Eggnog.
You hop on the SS eggnog, baby.
The Eggnog Express.
The USS Trepidation.
Cherub.
It would be kind of funny if it was like
sled.
If it had like a completely badass name that sounds like he wishes it was the Millennium Falcon, but it's so not. So it's just like the terror,
be like
the terror of something. It's like
best-
The Commodore's wife.
it's like the something bomber, and it's like something bomber. It's like, well, let's make a fast delivery. It's like, no, it's not like that at all. He's like, oh, okay.
Star of Bethlehem. The drummer boy.
Come on, little drummer boy.
calling it a shooting star would be
that
like,
Actually,
Yeah.
the Dasher would work.
that's too much.
Two on the
If
nose,
we already got the comic.
two
going,
on the
like,
nose.
That's a hat on a hat. Okay, what about the hat trick?
Ooh, the hat trick. I like that.
Jasmine's wind.
A hat trick.
Jasmine's wish was the
Jasmine's wish.
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
the feathered edge.
Feathered Edge.
These are our
Hey,
D&D.
Hey,
Hey,
I might steal
stop it.
Feathered Edge.
What about
Feathered
the,
Edge works.
the
I mean,
Virginia? That's great.
Not
episode.
important. If the thing I'll pencil in now is Feathered Edge until there's a better one. Because fuck it.
I don't think it's gonna come up a whole bunch.
It's only the ship that he crashes in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one that has to be repaired the whole movie. If you name it like a lady, his
trash
wife
can
can be
bitch.
jealous of it.
You know how me and old Esmeralda get along. Yuck.
Izzy, no.
The George Washington Sr.
The Saigon whore.
Let's go for a ride on the Saigon Whore.
The Fourth Civil War.
How about the painted lady?
Ooh, I like that.
That's from a thing.
It's from a thing.
I
The
don't remember,
Shimmy
but
Shanga.
It is from a thing.
The Enola Gay.
Enola Gay.
The gay Enola?
Yeah.
I'm here dropping off packages.
We'll think of something though. We can move on.
The Cliff Clavin.
What's the
The Unwelcome Stranger.
The Twice Knocker.
what's that song? It's just like when you look under a Scotsman's kilt. What do you
Oh,
find
yeah.
under a Scotsman kilt?
Blue Ribbon. I know what song you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't, so.
You'd say the drunken sailor. Like, what do you do to a drunken sailor?
What's something you would want to something that sounds punctual? Like what's something that sounds like oh, what a noble just good honest clean living.
The Pocket Watch.
That's not bad.
The John Reindeer.
The SS never late. Like
The Collector's Edition.
Yes.
Game of the Year edition.
Pony Express.
SS Amazon Prime.
The lamb's tail. I'll be there in 2 shakes.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Actually, I really like that. That's really good.
Yeah,
That's a
well-
really good to like
Lamb's Tail.
on
Vote-
his
vote for Lamb's
well the
Tail.
whole thing is I now kind of want him to have a business card. We're like Captain of the Lamb's Tail. I'll be there in 2 shakes.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
I like it.
I mean, not to
Yeah.
toot my own horn.
I like it. I like it a lot.
I
It
like
seems
it.
it seems
It's
like
the,
it
best,
has,
it's the best name I'll go
it
with
has
for
the
now.
right
Yeah,
amount
yeah.
of bravado to it.
Right.
Our service will never be bad.
Fuck you
Now,
again.
well, now you just ruined it. You just ruined a good thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll be there on time.
Look, you're infecting Josh.
We really know how to hoof it.
It's like you rate it. It's like, how was your service? It's like good or bad.
All right. What about you, Max? Max, describe what you brought in.
I brought in a
Garbage.
Oh, garbage.
That's okay. We got a garbage can.
Yeah.
What about the writing you brought in?
Oh, the writing I brought in was a short bar scene of my Rater Operator story,
Yes.
kind of introducing some more characters that you guys had suggested. The
The lifer.
The lifer.
Did you watch Taxi Driver in preparation?
No.
You should.
Sorry. I told you I didn't watch a movie. I just listened to Rush. And Zeppelin and Floyd.
Should listen to Rush while watching.
I can
Taxi
tell.
Driver.
I can tell by this what you wrote that there's a lot of Rush.
Oh. Yeah. I wanted to
Yeah,
give
it
the
felt Rush to me too.
Oh.
Oh,
right.
oh, oh.
All right. If we keep making bad puns, I'm going to quit.
Yeah.
Unless you make one, and then you're like, "Oh, look, I did it."
Yeah.
No,
That's what happens.
No,
It's
I-
happened several times.
I know, but
And
the thing is, like,
then
I'll
you
make
seek
one and
high fives.
I have turned down high fives this episode already.
No, you've turned out a fist bump.
Yeah, you're okay. You're right.
There's a good couple bro fist moments in the new Boruto movie. The end.
Okay. And I wanted to do the guy who is a full-time operator,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone else thinks he's a bit crazy because
Is he cowboy?
he's cowboy, and nobody else wants to do that full-time.
Are they ever gonna have real names, or is this gonna be call signs?
Well, he's the only one who has a non-real name.
Yeah, he's the one that had the nickname or something.
yeah.
Yeah, cowboy. I didn't know this was about rate your operator until you said the word operator, and then I was like, "Oh yay!" Like, I got excited. I will say my first critique is that you gotta choose a format
Oh yeah.
because there's lots of talking and it's hard to follow.
The thing that confused me was the main guy David.
You do know that
don't-
when you talk, you need to start a new paragraph.
What?
Just when you
What?
like when you
Well, when
when someone talks, you start a new paragraph.
Yeah, when a new person talks, you start new. Yeah.
Even
Well, no,
when
wait,
you don't.
If you started off not talking and doing exposition, as soon as somebody begins talking, it's in a
Boom.
paragraph.
There's no editing in here. This is just an info dump.
Stream of conscious.
Right. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that's my first critique. It makes it hard to follow.
Okay.
The thing that confused me was I don't know. I knew how everybody was reacting to that story and how everyone felt about that story, except for the guy telling it. Like at first he's just like, and then he comes at me with a knife. See, and I'm like, oh, he's probably like excited to tell this story. And then as soon as he's just like, and then I shot him. You know, it's like, so wait, was he trying to? Was he trying to
Was
make
he
it sound
gussing
exciting?
it up, or
Yeah, was he gussing it up, or was he sort of like, well, you know, then I shot him, you know, or were they? Like I didn't get I know how everybody else reacted because Cowboy's like, that's fucking bullshit, you know. Everyone's like, oh, you fucked up, you made a mistake, and so that's their reaction. But I don't know emotionally what his thing, because he started excited, but then he ended like disappointed.
Okay.
So I would just say,
Give him more of his inner.
yeah, or just like if there's another lead in for if it's like if they're trying to like, come on, man, what'd you do this week? And he's like, oh, well, I did do one thing, and then he like isn't really like excited to tell it, or if instead he's like, oh, dude, it was fucking crazy. So either way, just consistency and how he's viewing it.
I got their attitudes from what you wrote as well. It was very transparent. I would probably try to do a little more with voice for people like Cowboy, because not that he doesn't like. I can totally picture this guy in my head, but I want his words to sound a certain way, separate from everybody else. So I would probably play around with word choice and stuff like that for him specifically.
Okay.
Also, I'm having a problem with the setting, like the gastropub thing. It seems like you're trying to make another point with the setting that has nothing to do with your main point.
I'm just writing. This is me writing down
but,
ideas I have. When I lived in Pittsburgh, a lot of people were buying out old bars to turn them into 70 beer hipster joints.
See, I think it did the job of saying
Yeah.
this is a trend I'm predicting for the future, so you know that this isn't the present.
Yeah.
That's what I felt it did the job of.
Really, because it felt to me so engaged in the present.
Well, no, because he said, oh, back in the 20s that happened.
Yeah.
And I knew he didn't mean the 1920s.
Because it's gastropub.
Yeah.
Microbrew.
Yeah. My only thing was that
But rather than assessing that it's in the future, I think it's dating when it's written
I think
more than anything else.
Well, I'm just writing down ideas for me, like a setting. That's how I write. And then what I'm more interested in, would it be a safe place for guns? Because I feel like operators would be so into gun culture that they wouldn't feel comfortable anywhere that's not super gun
like
culture.
welcoming of it at least.
So they would be at a
Right.
bar that is a gun culture bar, as opposed to like they wouldn't feel comfortable in a cop bar because cops would look down on these.
Yeah, that's a good.
people.
No, I
Yeah.
kind of got
Yeah,
some of that
that's a good
stuff.
idea. No, I it's funny because it reminds me of Deadpool. Because there is a specific bar for mercs.
mercenaries.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah?
in Deadpool.
And
Yeah.
Luke Cage is in there.
I will.
Yeah.
I will say the only other thing that ties into my first thing with it was that, as compared to the first thing you wrote for Rate Your Operator, you spent way less time in this dude's head in this
Which is
thing that you've written here.
Probably not good.
Yeah, I don't know who the
Yeah.
main character is in this one. I don't know if it's the guy telling the story or if we're going to be following Cowboy or the girl who's trying to sniff out bullshit. Like, I don't have a good sense of who
Yeah.
we're
It's
following.
not so much a story as a me doing
Scene.
character
Right.
profiling.
Yeah.
Because the first thing you wrote for your operator, I was totally in that guy's headspace. Like I
Yeah.
saw it, and then the seeing it from his perspective of like, oh, I'm just an average guy. This is just what I do on the side. Here, this was more about the culture of it.
Well, I know
and
how
not
you guys
from,
you guys
know.
sit down, you write a character, and then you write your next character. That's not how I just sit down and
That's
I write.
not what I do. I
Well,
do plot first.
I
Character
sit down
comes
and I
last.
write.
Oof.
I write my
Character
characters in the
comes
scene.
last?
Every time.
That seems so
So
backwards.
when I sat down to write, I had no idea who any of these people were, and I just sat down and started writing
Found it
things
along the way
about them. Yeah.
yeah.
So this is not a polished piece. This is just me setting ideas down, creating who these characters are going to be. Like Cowboy.
I like where it's going.
I think Cowboy is going to be Cowboy's going to be the old cop, and you guys Liam wanted me to write a happy ending. You last week you said
Yeah, I
because you don't want the cynical.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You said write both.
I especially in reading a lot of books,
Yeah.
a lot of especially like ones that are
Yeah.
commenting on a current culture. Almost all of them end super duper shitty.
Well, Bill
and
is
they're
gonna
like,
be,
and it's unavoidable.
Bill's gonna be the one who goes crazy because he's the one who's like, "Hey, you could have solved that without your gun." He's gonna be the one who starts shooting people that Daniel has
Oh,
to
good,
put down.
good twist. Because I thought
Yeah.
for sure you were going to start with Cowboy.
And then Cowboy, I want the ending to be Cowboy's like, "All right, shit's going crazy even for me. Let's get you out of here." Because people are gonna start pulling guns at their convention, and I feel like Cowboy and the other girl are gonna help him out because they're gonna be like,
Whoa.
"You're full of bullshit, but you're not full of this much bullshit."
And it was weird that the
Yeah.
other guy did that. So we believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm for it.
Okay.
You guys, anything else?
Just looking forward to see where else it goes.
Yeah.
'Cause it's a cool world, and you got some interesting characters.
Yeah, I like
already
more
here,
ideas. I
so-
would not have made the characters there that if you guys hadn't, pushed me in that direction. So
But now that you say
Very
it's like,
cool.
oh, it's not a polished piece. This is really just as you were thinking it up. Now I can see how you literally built it from the outside. Then
Yeah.
you built the
Yeah.
inside.
I
then
sat
you built
down,
the people at the table.
I
and
wanted
then
a
it's
bar.
conversation.
Yeah.
I chose a town in Austria called Tels. The guy was from there, and I just wrote.
Like, what's the Lodi from the Creedence song? Where he's like, I don't know where that is, but it was a cool name for a town, so I wrote a song about it. As for me, I brought in the first 8 or so pages of chapter 3 of Malcolm Hat, and I only had 8 pages because I rewrote this like 6 times. I changed how I was going to do this. I was going to start earlier with him actually arriving at the village. I was going to do each piece of information as it happened. But then I remembered something you guys said in the past, the idea of the kids who get kidnapped and
Yeah,
sent to things
kind
like-
of like a jump cut. In your
right,
brain, yeah.
where it's like image, this is how it happened, and it makes it feel as though time passed much faster. So that's what I was going for with this, and also I wanted to make it feel more immediate, like this was happening, it's already happened, he hasn't even caught up to it.
No, I like.
And,
yeah,
and,
I
and,
got that,
and
I
again,
like that.
it gives you a lot more moments
Yeah.
to play inside of his head and realize like this is how I remember it happening. Also, I know this is totally not the reality. Like I already know that my memories of that thing that just happened to me aren't completely real, and you get to question reality more so, even though that he's in this strange situation. So it kind of reinforces that.
I really liked it. I really liked how it started in the cell, and then you kind of had that flashy thing where it's like, okay, then you get pulled into to the village.
That was much harder to do than I was expecting, as far mechanically, to make sure that the image that you were seeing made sense as you read it. Like it's really hard to do that. I was not.
Well, that was the one thing I was going to say was that I think you need to mention how his leg is wrapped up earlier, because I kind of. That was one of the first questions I had as I started to read it, because I knew that he'd hurt
How's his
himself.
foot? Yeah.
And I'm like, well, how's he doing? And then you don't address it. And I'm like, has he been hobbling around on a broken leg this whole time? And then you're like, oh, and somewhere in that meantime his leg was dressed. Whereas like if you can say that before he starts, but like it's almost like it would feel.
It also seems like that should be really immediate to himself.
Right,
to
where it's
acknowledge it.
like he doesn't even remember someone putting that on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if it's more like it's like if he's like, okay, I'm in the cell. How did I get here? And then, oh yeah, my leg's wrapped. I remember that guy wrapped it. When did that happen? And then boom, 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 boom,
That
boom,
was-
boom.
that was
Where
the
you
thing I
said
was
it was
having a hard
like
time
he thought it was
finding where to put that.
marinade.
Yeah.
If he thinks they're gonna eat him, like focus on that little more than just one sentence.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
well, and that the leg wrapping
Yeah.
the leg can be the good sign of that, where he's
Yeah,
just
definitely.
like, oh, I guess they're not going to eat me. They're taking care of me. But,
Well,
you know,
they're putting the ointment on. He's like, "What the hell is this?" And then they start wrapping it, and he's like,
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
I felt it was well done overall with non-speaking, kind of a pantomime.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Was the bit about him thinking he was saying Kevin, was that stupid or?
No, it's fine.
I had to read it twice to realize that Kilvin had spoke, because it's not. I mean, I know I wasn't expecting blah blah
It's-
blah
it's
blah
not in
blah.
quotes,
yeah, I
yeah.
wasn't expecting like onomatopoeia or whatever, but like I was expecting more of like that he barked at him or that he did whatever. Because if you say like, oh, he barked at him, I'm literally thinking they're animals going yeah, yeah, not
Right.
like speaking, but yet in a language you didn't understand.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to feel like it's walking that line. But also, I know that Liam, you said you had a problem with knowing who had been hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was just a little
It makes
sloppy.
sense. I was really worried that kind of thing would be hard for it to come across because I never name anybody or say what they are, and I keep changing, the word I use for them, like creature or the gray one and those kinds of things. How hard was it to picture the village when it was described?
I could use more. It wasn't. It's not like it's super hard. I have no idea where. Like I imagine the bulbous, kind of like trunk houses. When I need, rather than to imagine something that I can recognize differently, I want something familiar to compare it to. Like this is as if the trees were ballooned, sort of like this.
Okay.
To describe just in that will just help reinforce that image. I think in a
Because
very concrete.
Even think of
way.
it like, because he's not getting full glimpses. Like, he's being dragged around. He would have seen a glimpse, and then he would have tried to rationalize that in his head as something he's
Okay.
seen before.
What if I give an even more bare bones version of that because he only caught a glimpse, and then later he like looks out the window?
I would,
Yeah.
I would say
Okay.
that
That can
because
work.
because it just I had only read it a little while ago, and if you were to ask me to describe it, I don't think I really could, because my takeaway from that was that he started to cry, and it all kind of blurred after that, and because that was the emotion of it. It was like I was more in tune with how he was looking at it as
It was
opposed
hard
to what
because
it
I was
actually
trying to
looked
make
like.
it feel as though that he didn't have a lot of time to
Right.
think about it or to
Exactly.
notice things.
And how old is he? Can he describe something without using like a simile or a metaphor, really? Even to himself?
I don't know.
Because he would try to be like, oh, this was like this,
Well, I think the problem is me. Like I need to bridge the gap between me and the reader, because I'm not limited to what Malcolm understands. I can say what the thing looks like and be like, Malcolm has never seen anything like this. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I can do that because of the kind of
Exactly.
POV I'm using.
But if he's rationalizing in his own head, he would be thinking of things he is familiar with that he's seen before,
Right. That's why I was thinking Adobe Village. That I mean,
Yeah,
does
he
that-
would have
you
seen
guys get the
pictures
idea of
like
that?
Petra, or he would have seen these in National Geographic
or
whatever.
in the textbook.
Exactly,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Rock Village or whatever.
Kilvin, all of his movements and all of the inner problems with Malcolm's head are never spoken. They're just described, especially like about the mom and the way that Kilvin's looking at him, and the way that Kilvin kind of punishes the guy for being mean. Do you get like a general idea of the situation?
I don't know if that
Yeah.
really works with what we know.
But it's very. We haven't had a chance to see the situation come into fruition, or even what Kilvin's really like. I mean, what are the moments that we have for Kilvin? One, he's way smarter than everyone else because they're like trying to hammer stuff in.
Yeah.
He just slips it in. There's a bit of wisdom to him. He's also apparently not afraid of the elders, and is willing to go toe to toe with them. He's also apparently physically feared.
Right.
But does Kilvin,
But he also has
yeah.
has a motherly side. But we only have like 4 or 5 points of connection to kind of draw who he is
Okay.
right now.
Does Kilvin know Malcolm is a child?
Yes.
Okay.
He absolutely knows, and everybody else knows as well.
Okay.
But I want to get the idea that Kilvin's the only one who actually gives a shit whether not anything bad happens to him.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But like or I guess paternal side kicking in or whatever.
That's what I was going for.
I wasn't sure if the Wilviks would know that he was a child.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, eventually that'll be explained. I guess it would make sense not to know that now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can't. Yeah. Again, you never spelled it out, but he's like, he looked at him motherly. You know?
Because he's got the 2 kids that look in. And
Appreciate it. I mean, is there anything else?
Any clarification before you do the flashback, like with telling us what we need to know about his immediate situation of, okay, where am I? Oh, wait a minute, let me remember. Just keeping that a little bit more separated.
Okay.
And instead of instead of it all being one jumbled memory, and then he only really has a clear thought of when he's speaking with Kilvin.
That was hard to juggle too.
Yeah,
But because
Yeah.
the way I try to let you know that it's a he remembered this,
Right.
and then the next paragraph I would try to break it up by that and be
Right.
like, so now he was dealing with this, and trying to figure out how it relates
Yeah.
to this. And that's hard to manage. I'm not sure how I feel about how it's done, or whether I could just do that better, or whether I should use a different method.
I think you can do that better, but
And I'd like to see
go.
more
Go with,
of him being a kid in captivity. What you're coming with, like, because you're writing it from the perspective of a child. Like, what would a child do? Like, is he not crying to get back at them?
But it's not fully from the perspective of a child, and that's
Yeah, but he is still a child.
that's the strength of
He's the touch point character. Yeah.
yeah. But things can be explained outside of.
No, I
his
don't mean explaining.
experience.
I just mean it is a child in captivity.
You're supposed to see it through his eyes.
Exactly.
To a certain point.
Where-
You sympathize with him.
You can like show his strength, be like, I'm not gonna cry for them. They're not gonna see
Yeah.
me, because we're supposed to be seeing that this kid has the inner strength of eventually the animal aspect or whatever, right? So I think you can get into that, and be like, I'm not gonna cry. They're not gonna see me cry.
or
that kind of thing.
some equivalent.
Yeah.
Like where it's in his headspace of how he's trying to rationalize his captivity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, that's a good idea. Thank you guys.
Yep.
All right, so now it's time for the bad story trailers part of the podcast, where we roll the dice, we pick 3 genres, and we try to workshop a film out of it, and then we record the trailer. So I got a list here of 100 genres, and Liam, you're rolling first.
All right,
no repeats.
we got a new 50.
50.
Right in the middle.
I don't think we've done 50.
Jidaigeki.
Oh boy.
All right.
What's this?
Oh, okay. A story usually set in the Edo period of Japanese history.
Okay,
Okay.
That's much easier than I thought it was
So
going to
I
be.
was like, is this some kind of
So
sex
that's-
thing?
so that's during like European first contact.
The Edo period.
Yeah.
Yeah. So between specifically 1603 to 1868.
Ooh, so that is a broad
Japan's Wild West.
Commodore Perry.
So wait,
that's-
no,
that's like-
this
is it-
isn't the Warring States period though.
The Warring States period was Chinese.
Is this like
There's a Warring
Yojimbo
States period in,
You're talking about like but those are referred to as like the Tokugawa.
so the Yojimbo Senjuro time period, or like
What's that?
Yojimbo Senjuro time period?
Yes.
Okay.
Like I said, the Japanese Wild West.
Yeah. Okay. 31.
31. Contemporary fantasy.
Well, that can't work with the mixing those two
Oh yeah,
together.
it can't be contemporary.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if we say like that period, but
Contemporary
also
of that period?
yeah, also fantasy. That's
Okay.
well, we'll
you
think
can
about
you can
it.
just
Well,
put
let's
you
see,
can
yeah.
put some modernisms in
Can
it.
you
We're
really-
like,
let's
we're
see
like, you
separate
know what?
fantasy
I would
then?
almost say Samurai Champloo works in that because there's a lot of contemporaryisms in
Well,
it.
Let's see what the third thing
let's
is.
do
Well,
the-
read contemporary fantasy.
Okay,
please.
contemporary fantasy. A subgenre of fantasy set in the present day. These are used to describe stories set in the putative? I've never spoken this word aloud. I've read it all the time. Putative real world, often referred to as consensus reality, in contemporary times in which magic and magical creatures exist. Either living in the interstices of our world or leaking over from alternate worlds.
I really like that.
That could be
one.
cool if like
I like that one a lot.
So a guy makes a blade so sharp it cuts through reality and monsters come through.
Ooh, from the Edo period.
Or just in the Edo period. He
In the
just
Edo
makes,
period.
This dude's been folding the sword since he was 12, and now he's 80.
So, but could
There's
those
so much
monsters?
goddamn Martin sight in this thing.
Could those monsters just be cars?
What? Okay.
We can't brainstorm before you.
Yeah,
before
sorry,
you
I've
roll
got
it.
I've
You
got
gotta
an
roll a
idea,
third
but
one.
let's go.
96.
96. CG family. Okay, no, that could work.
What's this?
CG family. If a family film animated by computers such as Toy
Oh.
Story. All right, so whatever the movie is, it has to be a little more lighthearted.
Yeah.
So what if it's
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3.
what's something from
Best one of the
what's
bunch.
something from the future that would be seen as a demon in the Edo period?
Airplanes.
Furries.
Tanks.
What about like drones, or something like
RC helicopter.
Yeah, drones could be,
androids?
Electric sheep.
Goths.
Korean people.
No, I like that though. Kind of.
Goth versus samurai.
Goth. That's the movie. Goth vs. Samurai. That's it. It's done.
That's not CG family enough.
That is
What
totally
about-
CG family enough.
But like Japanese goth, like the guys who have the 15-foot pompadours. They go the way extreme.
no, those are greasers.
Like
I know, but I'm saying,
Malice Miser.
but like a Japanese goth would be like way to the extreme, to where they would,
Yeah, they made the ring. It's
yeah.
That's not a goth. That's not a movie about goths.
I'm pretty sure it is.
It was a movie made by goths for goths.
She's wearing corpse paint.
No.
She was so
never seen
goth,
it.
death
Yeah.
could not stop her.
So
Yeah.
goth black stuff comes out of her mouth.
It's on VHS for some reason.
The fundamental failing of that movie is that everybody still has a VHS player.
Yeah. But imagine if that shit got into Redbox. Everyone would be.
Dead.
In a week.
I've never seen it. I guess that's the premise. I don't know.
They need to make a Redbox horror film like that now. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, what's this movie?
You're dead.
You're dead.
Why is it wait 7 days? Just you're dead now.
Because then it can't spread around.
What about?
I don't know how you can mix the family-friendly CGI with that period of Japan.
Sure, you can have. It's like Kung Fu Panda. It's like
Yeah.
that period of China.
All right, well then, but we're still trying to. Are we going to try and mix all three? How is it going to be a contemporary?
We're gonna have to throw
fantasy?
out contemporary.
Yeah, it can be contemporary to that period. Well, I was saying like you can make it sci-fi by like this dude makes this sword and it cuts through and
Not
creature-
sci-fi, but fantasy.
Yeah. Okay. What if it's aliens? Like what if it bridges time and
It was
space?
contemporary fantasy, by
Dude,
the way.
all right, no,
contemporary sci-fi.
CG. This is CG Family Fest, fantasy, contemporary of the time period of that time period in Japan, just ninjas versus aliens. Like it's there's monsters versus aliens. There's Kung Fu
Sure.
Panda. You mix all these things together.
Well, I think if we're doing fantasy, it's got to be something demonic. Or,
and
or
yeah,
like-
ninjas
or-
versus monsters. you
or
know?
like what if
ninjas
it's-
versus werewolves.
Or
No.
what if it's specifically about the creatures from Japanese fantasy,
Like Jingashi.
Oni.
like Jiangxi? I think that those are
Jiangxi.
Buddhist things. Well, more like the
Usagi Yojimbo.
Oni. You mean a rabbit bodyguard? Like the Oni.
You don't know anything about Japan, so you're just like spouting random shit at you.
and like
Well, I know Usagi means bunny, right?
what Tengu? That's another.
Yeah.
like those kind of creatures.
What are those?
Or Inuyasha, right? Because he's a wolf demon.
God damn it.
Don't know what any of this means.
So Jitageki, contemporary fantasy. What was the third?
CG
Family,
family.
CG family.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is weird for that to be its genre on its own. That's really more of a medium, but that's fine.
Could we have
Wait, what if it is contemporary and it involves a guy?
who finds a sword, cuts reality open
Into the Edo period.
into the Edo period, and it's starting to blend together, and he's got to stop it.
It's like
But he's
Samurai
also-
Jack almost.
He's like a kid.
Yeah, okay.
Except for goes into the past instead of the future.
Since it's a family thing, he's got to be a kid. Mom or dad is dead, because that's every.
What if he's a robot?
Ooh, go on.
No,
It's contemporary, Liam.
we've done a lot of robots.
It's contemporary.
We have samurai robots now, so it's
Exactly.
contemporary.
This isn't RoboCop 3.
Oh, if it only was though.
If only Robocop
We've done plenty of
3 was
robot
good.
movies already, though.
Yeah, we have.
True, like Chrome on the Range.
Is that the only robot movie we've done?
No.
No, we did
Better than the real thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry. That was very good.
It was really funny.
Okay. Forgot about that one.
All right, so back to this. So, dude from modern day cuts back into backwards Edo times.
Yeah.
And then,
Dude from modern day finds a magic sword.
yes.
From the Edo period.
Yeah. Or a kid finds one in storage when his parents are killed in an accident.
Obviously.
Right? Because a lot of kids' movies
Yes.
start like that.
Being an orphan is super important in them because if you have parents, they need to be looking after you.
Right.
White kid whose grandpa took it
No.
from Japan.
Unless
in the
this
occupation.
is an adventure that happens in the blink of an eye, like a Narnia situation,
Right.
or like if he could touch the sword, and then if it's like, oh, don't touch grandfather's sword or whatever.
It's magic. And he's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
bullshit, fuck you. It ain't magic. Also, he should be from the hood.
Ooh, like Kazam.
Well, if it's almost like time travel where he goes back, if he touches the sword and goes back to the time period, that solves the problem of it taking place in the time period, but also having contemporary magic as well.
Yes.
So, what if it's a little girl? Because Japan, they had a lot of female warriors.
Yes.
I would say a lot. There was no social stigma about it the same way there was with like Mulan. Like there's paintings of them and stuff, you know. So little girl finds like a naginata or some kind of like
Oh, Wakasashi?
that's too small.
Ginsu.
She's a little girl.
Yeah, but she's got to be scary, right? Like she's in battle, like you get away.
paring knife.
That's much bigger. You're right. Well, it's okay.
What if it's a mask, like part of a helmet?
That's cool. Puts on the mask.
Yeah.
Goes back in time.
Yeah. What about like a scepter?
No.
That's turtles again.
Yeah.
What if she meets a big guy and his name's Sony? Oh god, it's a terrible movie. Okay, a little girl finds like a Tengu mask.
What is a Tengu?
It's a guy with a long
demon.
nose. Demon with a long nose.
Oh, okay, I know that. Yeah.
yeah. She finds,
Do you really?
Yeah, red face.
Yeah,
big
you got it.
bushy black hair.
You got it. So she finds a Tengu mask, puts it on, goes back to Edo period Japan. She's half Japanese, maybe Japanese
Mixed
American,
parentage is important. Yeah.
or Japanese American, and she
Where
doesn't
did
know
she
much
find the
about her
sword?
history.
The mask. Where did she find the mask?
Mask. Sorry,
In the
mask.
attic.
Yeah.
Where? But like, what country?
Or even
Here in America.
in a museum.
Or a museum. She's on field trip.
Yeah, and she's a
Touching
little
shit.
thief.
She's a little thief.
Maybe
stealing stuff
a little
from-
misfit, Get in there.
I'm gonna steal his
No,
mask.
someone dares her.
There's got to be a fat kid who dares her.
Do they all put on masks and go back?
No.
No.
Just they
Just
dare.
her.
Like she gets picked on. They dare her to put the mask on. She puts the mask on, and woof, she's gone.
And then she kills all of them.
Then she goes back to the past. Mm-hmm. People.
What's
are
her
attacking,
goal in the past?
To get
Survival?
home. She wants to
Yeah.
get home.
And putting on the mask doesn't do this.
Yeah. She has
what-
to find the right mask to get back home.
Well,
And
are
what if-
are her parents dead?
No,
she's on a field
just-
trip.
Yeah, she's transporting.
What
now.
if she puts on the mask and when she goes back to the past, the mask is gone, but people see her as
As
a
the yeah.
as a Tengu, and they're like, "What are you doing? You're gonna kill us or whatever." And she's got the Tengu powers and acts like a Tengu.
What does the
If
Tengu?
it gave her, if
What's
it
a
gave her
Tengu
powers,
do?
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
What's
like-
a Tengu do?
Oh, if only there was a movie about a mask that had mischief in it,
It
where
gave
it gave
people
people
powers.
magical powers.
Could Jamie Kennedy be in it?
No,
God damn it,
I'm thinking
Max.
Jim Carrey.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Son of the Mask.
Why would we?
Yes,
ever?
we're talking about the terrible sequel and not the original.
Yeah, if she puts on a mask, goes back in time.
But for real, what does a
has
Tengu
spiritual
do?
powers.
Let's look it up. Tengu, or heavenly dog, are a type of legendary creature found in
Dude,
Japan.
the name of the movie? Heavenly Dog.
Are a type of legendary creature found in Japanese folk religion and are also considered a type of Shinto god, a kami, or yokai, supernatural being.
All Tengu go to heaven.
Although they take their name from the dog-like Chinese demon, Tiangu, the Tengu were originally thought to take the form of birds of prey, and they are traditionally depicted with both human and avian characteristics. The earliest Tengu were pictured with beaks, but this feature has often been humanized as an unnaturally long nose, which today is widely considered the Tengu's defining characteristic in the popular imagination. Buddhism long held that the Tengu were disruptive demons and harbingers of war. Their image gradually softened, however, into one of protective, if still dangerous, spirits of the mountains and forests. Tengu are associated with the ascetic practice known as Shugendo, and are usually depicted in the distinctive garb of its followers, the Yamabushi. That all sounds cool, I guess.
She gets the powers of a bird. It'd be kind of cool.
Well, they can fly, and
It's kind of like reading Tolkien for the first time, though, because you're like, thanks. I don't know what any of that means.
It would just be cool for her to put this mask on.
during the fourth age of Kizkabanga.
Yeah.
She puts this mask on. She goes back in time, and she's basically like got the powers of an Iron Man, can fly
Protecting.
around. And yeah.
Who's she
like,
protecting?
a village.
People who are nice to her, maybe?
This is kind of a bummer, okay? But what if she had a little brother who died? There was nothing she could do to protect him.
Cancer.
So she goes to the Edo period, and she's like, "What's happened to me? Where am I?" And then some spirit, maybe an animal spirit like Amaterasu or something, is like, "Hey,
You put on the mask.
you put on the mask. You are taking the role of a protector."
Can I have a dictionary?
No. But also,
like,
time out.
Amaterasu comes in.
Time
Oh,
out.
yeah,
So you're like,
yeah, no, that guy.
hey, this obscure Irish folklore that I base everything on that no one knows.
No, I get it.
Totally, that's totally fine. But man, God forbid anyone else has mythology.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
anybody so anybody who puts on the mask is taking up the role of the protector. This god who like assigns her a task. You must do this. She's like, I just want to go back home, and it's like, well, you can't until
Till you do this thing.
you do this thing, and she has to protect a little boy and they do not get along at all. But then grow to be like, hey, you know what? You're
Yeah.
all right, kid. And she ends up protecting him, and she feels better about the fact that
She couldn't protect.
She couldn't protect
yeah.
her little brother. You know, it was out of her hands. But at least she got to protect somebody.
It would feel more family friendly if she just doesn't get along with her little brother. You know what I mean?
No, he needs to be
Maybe.
dead.
Well, I mean,
No,
because then I think of like
this
Up.
this is Pixar.
Yeah, we're talking
motherfucker.
empty room,
Yeah,
door closing.
cancer,
Yep, brother's dead.
leukemia.
I can imagine in my head like the shadow moving as the door closes.
See, you guys are thinking Up. I'm thinking more Labyrinth.
Right, the little brother's missing.
Yeah, where it's like she wants.
I'm thinking
it's like, I
Pan's
hate-
Labyrinth.
It's like I hate my little brother, and then in the end she's like, "Oh no, I gotta save him."
If Del Toro had been able to like direct a Bowie movie, though, I would have watched that like 4 times.
I don't know. I like Dead Brother. I like
Dead Brother too.
I like
Dead brothers.
What do you think?
They're 2 brothers.
Because like, what's okay?
And grandmas.
Kung Fu Panda, orphan. Up, his wife dies.
Oh, and it's so
Beginning of-
sad.
beginning
So
of the
fucking
film.
sad.
Toy Story.
Oh yeah,
Big Hero 6.
Big Hero 6, Dead Brother.
Okay, Wall-E. Most of the Earth is dead.
Yeah, but he didn't know any of them.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not an emotional.
He's a robot.
thing.
Toy Story. His dad is dead, so he plays with Barbies.
If that cockroach had died in Wall-E, that would have been
It would have been crushed.
Zing.
That's one for Doug.
by Wall-E probably.
Big Hero 6. Dad and brother.
No, just the brother.
Parents and brother, but you only knew the brother.
Well, the parents were dead, or they're just absentee. I don't remember.
No, they
Oh,
were
the
dead.
mom
were
was
dead.
that was the aunt, right? Not the
Yeah,
dad.
yeah.
Okay.
Fuck it, fine, whatever. His brother's dead.
No, Doug, we're not done. We're not done shaming you. yet.
How to Train Your Dragon? He's serious. He straight up loses a limb. It's pretty dark.
At the end,
It's pretty dark.
Spoilers.
he loses not really dark.
loses his
Because
dick?
you thought he died, and then he wakes up and it's like, oh, you got a little limb. Hey, look, it fits into the thing. Hey, that's awesome. Like it's not sad. How to Train Your Dragon is like, my dad hates me. That's pretty bad. Tengu.
But yeah, okay. So she goes back.
I want
and
it to be
she
called
wants
Heavenly
to protect.
Dog.
She wants to protect this kid.
I do with
They-
Tengu.
and they don't tell her why he's important, but he's just a little upstart.
And then it turns out he's Hitler.
yeah, or Genghis Khan.
Shitler.
It's like-
No, Genghis Khan never went to.
oh, that's right. We're talking Japan, not China. So yeah.
Maybe
Well,
he grows.
technically, neither did Hitler.
Maybe he grows up to be Yagyu Minonore, and he becomes the first swordsman of Japan and protects the emperor from murderers
Yeah, whatever.
Sweet.
or something. It doesn't matter because it's not going to be in the trailer.
What is she protecting him from?
something with tentacles. I
Fucking
assume.
demons.
Just monsters?
Well, I would imagine her enemies, or sorry, the god's enemies, right? Because this kid is going to fulfill something important for the good god, and all the demons are trying to make sure her wishes aren't fulfilled. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got our story basically.
Yes.
Before we sit down and actually
Now we
try
need
to
a name for the
compose it.
girl?
We need a name for the movie.
Heavenly Dog.
Heavenly Dog is okay, but I think it sells a different film. I think it's a very different movie.
My brother's keeper.
That's not bad.
Something with time. Something with mask.
Temporal fuck you.
Tengu time.
Yeah.
It's Tengu time! Puts on the mask.
It's like Yokai Watch. I watched the first episode.
How
of
old
that
is
because
this
I couldn't-
girl?
What if she's like 8?
And the kid's younger?
Because this is CG. You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Why is this kid just by himself?
Well, he was like a little 3-year-old. You know what I mean? He died.
Three is too young. Three is
5
too
is fine. He can
All
die
right.
at 5.
5, fine.
All right. So we got an 8-year-old girl and a 5-year-old dead brother.
All right, excellent.
Not dead brother. Or the dude he's protecting. You never have to hear the dead brother.
Oh, the
talk.
little kid she's protecting?
Yeah.
I think the little kid she's protecting can be closer in age than her brother.
Harriet the Samurai.
That's not bad.
Tengu for helping me.
Yeah. My Little Tengu. Something with mask.
What about the fight? Something about the fight that she has to have? Like the.
Yeah. Dead cancer brother, new non-cancer brother, save.
Generic CG movie.
It's not very generic.
Not another generic CG movie.
There you go. That's more descriptive.
Japanese Mulan.
Hoodoo Tengu.
How about Mask of the Heavenly Dog?
That one's not bad.
Mask of the Bread Dog.
Mask of the Tengu.
Then the sequel's called Mask of the Tengu 2.
Let's get Tengu.
11 goo.
Ooh, I like it.
Mask of Heaven. We should call it Mask of the Tengu.
That's good, but it also is boring, but we'll do.
And very phallic.
Dick Nose Demons.
It's a Dick Nose. Harvey Dick Nose.
And what do you want?
But it would be called Dick Nose, like DICKKNOWS.
No. It's
Dick
just a guy
Nose
going,
Demons.
This is the
Oh, I
guy-
know them demons.
That's
I
this
know.
guy.
I know those demons.
He's just a Pokemon trainer.
Yeah. All right. Is this little girl Jewish?
No.
Then I'm out.
Because once she goes back in time,
Can you please help me? Excuse me, I'm a Japanese boy.
No, but I want that to be the voice of the Japanese boy kind of badly.
Yeah.
He's just like really like.
I'm not good at anything.
everyone's like, "This is racist." How? How is this racist?
The shiny lady says you're supposed to protect me.
Hey, shiny lady. That'll be it.
Shiny.
Okay, so
Mask of the Tengu.
Mask of the Tengu. That's our movie.
And over here we have the Japanese culture exhibit.
Look, Linda, we're in your section.
Yeah, man. I see the family resemblance.
Leave me alone. I don't know anything about this stuff.
For Linda Sato, a Japanese heritage had never mattered.
These are the Tengu masks. Ancient Japanese regarded Tengu as both demons and protector spirits.
Hey, Linda. I bet you're too scared to put one of those on.
I'm not scared of anything.
Hey guys, I think this is going too far.
Shut up.
Say I won't do it.
You won't do it.
But one dare would bring her closer to her lineage than she ever imagined.
Please don't hurt me. I don't have it, I swear.
This boy is your ancestor, and he is in grave danger.
I'm not gonna hurt you.
What kind of monster are you?
I'm not a monster, I'm Linda.
Please, he desperately needs your help. The adventure begins this Golden Week in Mask of the Tengu. Thank you all for joining us for this episode of Bad Storytellers. I'd like to thank my writing group, Doug Banks, Liam Malone, and Max Wessel. All of our writing that we discussed can be found on our website, badstorytellers.com, along with the show notes. And for any questions, suggestions, or cynical critiques of our work, please contact us at badstorytellers@gmail.com. Also, if you dig the show, please leave us a review on iTunes. It really helps us gain visibility among the other writing podcasts. As always, I am Josh LaForge, and I'd like to invite you to join us next week on Bad Storytellers. Let me,
Don't forget Tangy, hoy.
let me get...
Ooh, wee, Rick.